Hello, everybody. Aaron, the Nintintrovert here. Welcome back to the Pictochat podcast. It's been a hot minute since we've done one of these. Apologies, it's taken me quite a bit. I've been doing other different kinds of content on the channel. I've been trying out. We've been doing movie reactions. We've been doing all sorts of things. But I'm back. I'm going to try to make the podcast more of a regular thing again. And today we're going to be talking about the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which we just got our first full trailer reveal. We had a little teaser back during the last Nintendo Direct in September, but this is our first time actually seeing the movie in action. Seeing new cast members, seeing new characters that are going to be in the movie. I figured we would take this opportunity to talk about it, break down what all was in the trailer, as well as share some of my hopes and predictions, and how I think that the plot of the movie is going to go, and all that sort of fun stuff. So let's just get right into it. At the time of recording this, the Mario Galaxy movie trailer went out yesterday, and I'd planned to do a live reaction to it, but then I kind of didn't. I woke up and I was tired, and I was like, I don't really feel like getting showered and getting all gussied up and hooking up the recording footage and sitting down in front of the camera and recording it and talking through it. I was like, I just want to watch the trailer on my own time. So that's what I did. But I really enjoyed it. I'm very excited for the movie. First thing, I've not heard anyone else talk about this, but I love how Bowser, when he's running up the steps, he starts humming the like his boss battle theme from Super Mario 64. He starts going like, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, I'm gonna trim the bonsai bush, do-do-do-do. He's like running up the spiral staircase. So I thought that was a lot of fun. Just like the first movie, I'm sure it's going to be filled with plenty of cute little Easter eggs like that for the hardcore fans. Lots of cameos. So that'll be fun. We got the reveal of two very important key characters, being Rosalina and also Bowser Jr. Rosalina, she was kind of a given. Like you can't, like Miyamoto says himself in the Nintendo Direct presentation, you can't talk about Mario Galaxy without talking about Rosalina. They just go so hand in hand. It really should come as no surprise that Rosalina's in this movie, but we did get the official confirmation, and she's going to be voiced by Brie Larson. And I think she's a really good fit. From what little bit we heard in the trailer, we didn't hear a ton of lines of dialogue from Rosalina, but what little we did hear sounds pretty faithful to the character. We got Bowser Jr. as well. He's kind of the surprise character, or at least he would have been, if not for the Pillsbury cookie leak. I guess Nintendo and Illumination have partnered with Pillsbury cookies, and we're going to be getting some Yoshi Egg themed ones coming out at some point. Yoshi Egg sugar cookies, and the packaging leaked. Like they had it on some website. I don't know which website, if it was like Pillsbury's official website or like some other like food distributor's website. It showed Bowser Jr. on the box. It also showed a couple of renders of Yoshi, like Mario riding Yoshi, which is almost an exact recreation of the box art from Super Mario Galaxy 2. Interestingly, though, we didn't see Yoshi in the trailer itself. Not sure why, but I imagine we'll probably see him in the second trailer whenever we get that one. It did show like a little. It showed like Bowser Jr.'s like emblem, like his icon, which is kind of a silhouette of his face that shows up in some of the games, was on the back of the cookie box. So we kind of already knew he was going to be in the movie because that unfortunately leaked, which I'm sure Nintendo was not happy about. But this was our first time actually seeing his design and hearing his voice and everything. He's going to be voiced by Benny Safdie, if I'm saying his name correctly. And I wasn't really familiar with this guy. He's like a Jewish filmmaker. Apparently him and his brother are like the Safdie brothers, and they like make movies together, but I don't know that he's really had many, if any, like acting roles. I don't know. We'll see. I definitely am not sold on his voice yet compared to Rosalina's. I think Rosalina sounds perfectly fine. I'm a little iffy. He kind of just sound. A lot of people were kind of wondering because I watched some different people's reactions to the trailer, and some people when they first heard the voice thought it was like Jack Black, just doing kind of like a younger voice, or like they raised the pitch up. So it does sound very similar to Jack Black, but a little younger. Um, yeah, Bowser Jr. He kind of sounds more like adolescent, like teenager here, which isn't really the vibe you get from the games. In the games, he's kind of more of like a little kid. People were kind of speculating ahead of time who might voice Bowser Jr. And one that I thought was a great suggestion was I saw somebody say Nancy Cartwright. If you're not sure who she is the voice of Bart Simpson from The Simpsons. And yeah, like if you listen to Bowser Jr.'s voice, like say in Mario Sunshine, where he is fully voice acted in that game, he sounds pretty similar to Bart. So I think she would have been a good pick, but they didn't go down that route for whatever reason. But you know, it's okay, I guess. He might grow on me. You know, I'll just have to see more. But it's definitely a little jarring. It's really not jarring to hear Rosalina's voice, but Bowser Jr.'s, yeah, it's a little. It's gonna take some getting used to. Also, some people were complaining about Bowser Jr.'s eyes, just the way that they look being like weirdly, like realistically detailed. And yeah, they're a little weird because you know a lot of the characters in the Mario games have like really big, large eyes. But Bowser Jr. he's kind of got these like tiny little black beady eyes. And the way they translated that to a more realistic big screen approach is kind of weird. There's a lot of, I think the biggest issue is like there's a lot of like red around his eyes, like kind of like the outer ring around the eyes, or like the pink flesh under the eyelids a little bit. There's a lot of that. He kind of looks like he's kind of got the eyes of like a fish in a way. So I don't know. I've heard some people say, "Hey, can we pull a Sonic movie here and cause enough of an uproar we can get them to change it?" I don't think it's that huge of a deal. But we'll see if they touch it up in post, if they're able to make his eyes look a little less weird and kind of unsettling looking. But I don't think it's like a deal breaker or anything, and I definitely wouldn't want them to like delay the movie over it or anything, the way they delayed the Sonic movie to redesign Sonic, which that was a much needed change. So I'm glad they delayed it in that incident. But yeah, for Bowser Jr., it's whatever. So yeah, that's our two new characters. Again, Yoshi, we didn't see him in this movie. He leaked from the cookie box and everything. But, we did know after the first Mario movie that he was going to be featured prominently in the second one, because that was kind of the little like post-credits sequence. They show a lone Yoshi egg under the sewers of Brooklyn, cracking open, and then the screen goes black and you hear Yoshi. So, we kind of knew he was going to have a big focal point in the sequel. And even in the first movie, there was a sequence where we saw like a whole stampede of Yoshis. Yeah, but it is kind of weird that as much as they've been building up to Yoshi, that he wasn't in this first trailer. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's not voice acted. I know some people are like, oh, are they going to like hire some A-list celebrity that's going to be like talking in complete sentences for Yoshi? But no, I think Yoshi is going to be silent. Of course he's going to have his, iconic, Yoshi and, and, whatever sound effects he makes. But I don't think he's going to speak in full sentences or anything. At least I certainly hope not. If he was, I feel like they would have shown it in this trailer and, introduced whoever the voice actor is as part of the cast. But no, I don't know if they will hire some actor to do those Yoshi grunts and sound effects. Or, I could see them just keeping the bait like the regular ones that are in the games. I think it's Totaka, I want to say, is the name of the Japanese game dev. He does a lot of the music in Nintendo games, and I think he's the person who does the Yoshi like sounds. So I could see them just having him or somebody do those sounds. I don't really see them like hiring anybody. They may just like reuse Yoshi sound effects from the games that's already recorded. I don't know that you really need to record new lines for Yoshi, especially again like at the end of the Yoshi trailer. or I mean, at the end of the post credits sequence for the first movie, the egg cracks open, and Yoshi he makes that Yoshi sound, and it just sounds like it does in the games. So just slap that in the movie. I don't think you really need to do anything too crazy there. But yeah. Curiously, Bowser Jr. He's got his iconic paintbrush. We also see Bowser painting at the start of the movie. He's still shrunken down in his little prison cell. Though he's got a nice little thing going on. He's living in this basically this diorama version of his castle. But yeah, he's painting, and then of course Bowser Jr. He's got his paintbrush. So paint seems to be kind of a big focal point of this movie. Obviously, this is not a Super Mario Sunshine movie. Personally, I am kind of in the camp of feeling like we should have got a Mario Sunshine movie first. That was Bowser Jr.'s debut game. That would have been a good, movie to introduce Bowser Jr. It just seems kind of weird. Like, I'm not the first person to say this. Everybody's been saying it. But it is kind of weird to jump from the first movie to like now we're in space now, because it's like, well, where do you go from this for the third movie? Because like we know they're going to be working on more movies, but it's like, having to save the universe is like, that's like as high as the stakes can get. So every other movie is probably going to feel much lower stakes by comparison, I would imagine. But I don't know. But yeah, so Bowser Jr. has his paintbrush, which, if you've played Mario Sunshine, then the lore is kind of interesting because Bowser Jr. says, a strange old man in a white coat gave it to me. And then you have Flood, which is Mario's like water nozzle that's on his back, says a strange old man in a white coat, and it zooms in on Flood, and you can see this little emblem that looks like Professor Egad, the strange old man in a white coat, suggesting that Flood as well as Bowser Jr.'s paintbrush were made by him. And Egad, if you've played the Luigi's Mansion games, he's the one who gives Luigi his ghost-sucking vacuum, the Poltergust 3000. So yeah, if you look closely on the brush, it does just have Bowser Jr.'s emblem, his logo or whatever, his insignia in the movie. It doesn't actually have the EGAD logo that it had in Mario Sunshine. So I don't know. Maybe they're not going to go there, but I think that would be a really nice tease to set up for, if they decide to do a Luigi's Mansion movie, because like it's got to be coming, right? It feels inevitable. There's been all these like rumors that apparently Universal is working on another expansion to the Super Nintendo World amusement park that's going to feature like a Luigi's Mansion replica, which I think would be super cool. So really hoping, fingers crossed, that turns out to be true. But yeah, a lot of people have been wanting it, been asking for it. I just think a Luigi's Mansion movie would be awesome, especially if it's based more off the first one. Which is definitely the creepiest game in the trilogy, in my opinion. And if they have all the portrait ghosts, Neville and the wife and the Chauncey the baby and like all the other ones, just like the whole ghost family. Just such an unsettling game. It's so cool though. You got Madame Clairvoyant, all these different ghosts. Yeah, I would love to see that adapted into a movie. I think that would be so good. Maybe like at the end of this movie, there's like a post-credit sequence where Luigi gets like a letter in the mail and he finds out like, Mario, you're never going to believe this. I won a mansion in a contest. And he's like, that's great, Lou. And then that could kind of set up for the next movie. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, so I don't know if they're going to build to that. I don't know, if we'll find out that EGAD is where Bowser Jr. got his paintbrush from. He had to get it from somewhere, though, and I feel like they're going to have to explain it, whether they retcon it and make it something else, or if it actually is from EGAD. But we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, as I said, Bowser, he is still shrunken down as he was at the end of the first movie. Peach force feeds him a mini mushroom, and she captures him in a jar. And yeah, it's kind of interesting, though, because in the Mario movie, there's an instance where Mario accidentally eats a mini mushroom, but he grows back to normal pretty quickly, after like Donkey Kong hits him, and I think he hits a wall or something, and then he like, gets knocked back to full size. Bowser Sr., I keep saying Bowser Jr., I don't know how long it's been, the time lapse from the first movie. I would imagine it's been at least, weeks or months or maybe just days. But either way, you'd think the effects of the mini mushroom would have worn off by now, but I don't know. But he's still tiny. I would hope, because you see in the trailer, Bowser Jr. says, I'll be taking my father back now, and he attacks. So I hope he, rescues his papa and turns him back to normal pretty early on. Mostly because it's funny to an extent, I guess, seeing him like tiny and stuff, but like the way they raise the pitch to his voice and stuff, I feel like you're losing a lot of that Jack Blackness that they add to the character. So yeah, I don't enjoy hearing his voice as much when he's tiny. I want to hear the real authentic Jack Black come through. That's not, through a pitch raising voice filter or anything. So yeah, hopefully he turns Bowser back to normal pretty early on. I don't know though, because Miyamoto did say that the way he said it, I forget his exact phrasing, but essentially, Bowser was our main antagonist of the first movie, and Bowser Jr. is kind of taking up the reins for this one. So it sounds like maybe Bowser Jr. is going to be the main threat, and that Bowser maybe won't be as central to the plot. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I hope that's not the case. I mean, they do open up with him, with Bowser, the same way that they did, with the first trailer for the first Mario movie, where you have his big flying castle come down, and Bowser says, open the gates, and he sets fire to the Penguin Kingdom's ice castle or whatever. I finally have it. Now who's gonna stop me? So that tells me that he probably will have a pretty big role. So I probably shouldn't be too concerned about it, but we'll just have to wait and see. So I do have a theory though. I think in the end of the movie, so in Super Mario Galaxy 2, you fight Bowser, the final boss fight. He has the Grand Star, and it causes him to just like grow giant. I think they're going to do something a little bit more ambitious than that in this movie. I don't think that the final conflict, like at the climax, is going to just be Bowser, but he's really big now. But I do think what I think is going to happen, because again, Bowser Jr.'s got the paintbrush, and you see Bowser, he's painting, he's making art. He makes that picture of him with Princess Peach, but he gives himself the physique of like a Giga Chad with like the abs and stuff, which is pretty funny. The trailer's got good humor like the first movie, so that's good to see. But yeah, it kind of makes me wonder, so if you've played Bowser's Fury, kind of the premise of that game, Bowser turns into this giant black Godzilla-esque rampaging monster, which is honestly pretty intimidating in the game, a lot more than Bowser has been in most other games. So I could see that being the case, because when you beat the game, you find out that evidently Bowser, some way or another, he accidentally, I guess, got infected by like the malice or whatever from Bowser Jr.'s paintbrush. So yeah, I could see them doing something like that at the end of the movie, but something more deliberate, where Bowser Jr. purposefully paints his dad, and then he transforms into this giant hulking black monster like in Bowser's Fury. But yeah, they might even have a line of dialogue in there about like, I'm gonna grow huge now. Like, you shrunk me down to size, but now what if I could stomp on you like you did me when I was tiny? Like, I don't know. But yeah, I think that might be the direction they go. I think even though that's not really a thing that happens in Mario Galaxy, I think like the first movie, they're going to take a lot of creative liberties. I think they're going to mismatch a lot of things from different games. We've already kind of seen that with, there's a scene where they're riding on bikes through the desert, and yeah, it looks to be, you've got like the floating inverted pyramid from Mario Odyssey, so it looks like they're in the Sand Kingdom from that game, which raises some interesting questions, because there's been a lot of different like product leaks for this movie. Several months ago, there was this leak for like Old Spice scents, and there was one of them was like a, I don't know, Desert Luigi, something. It had Luigi on the box, and it also had one of the Tostarena citizens, which if you don't know, it's like the little skeleton guys, the NPCs you can talk to that are nice, and they've got like the maracas, and they've got the sombrero on their heads, and their skull, their head kind of looks like one of those like sugar skulls that they have like in Mexico for like Dia de los Muertos and stuff. So they're going to be in the movie presumably. I kind of have a theory. I don't know for sure if this is going to be the case or not, but I think as far as like big new characters, we saw Rosalina, we saw Bowser Jr. I'm not expecting a lot of other like key characters in this. Um, so like I don't think we're going to be seeing Wario or Waluigi, for example. I don't really think it makes a lot of sense to bring them in right now because they were never in like Super Mario Galaxy to begin with. Now, one character that I do think could potentially show up in this movie is possibly Princess Daisy. Now, she wasn't in the Galaxy games either, but we do know based on the trailers that, presumably not all of the movie is going to take place in outer space, that they're going to be doing some things on Earth as well. And, so we see them going to the, what looks like the Sand Kingdom from Mario Odyssey, Toast Arena. And I can't help but wonder, like, what if Toast Arena is actually a smaller portion, like it's an area within Sarasaland. And if you don't know, if you're not like super deep in the Mario lore, Sarasaland is the kingdom that Princess Daisy is ruler of. So they only really go there in Super Mario Land, which is on the Game Boy, which to a lot of people that might be kind of a obscure game if you didn't have it back in the day. But yeah, that's where Daisy first made her debut. But yeah, that's the name of her kingdom, Sarasaland. It's not really shown up since then in any other Mario games. But I think it's very interesting, though. It has been referenced a lot recently. So most recently in Mario Kart World, you have these like Moai enemies. I don't know exactly what they're called, but they look like Easter Island heads, and they've got like big arms, and they're like strutting around on the Desert Hills level. And yeah, those guys came straight from Super Mario Land, so they're enemies from Sarasaland, Daisy's kingdom. And also, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, I thought this was really curious. When that game came out just a couple years ago, like on the load screens, like between levels, or like, when you're loading back to the world map, there'll be like little like pop-ups. A lot of games do this, giving you little like tips and stuff. So Daisy's playable in that game. And one of the pop-ups does give you a little, context and tells you that Daisy, is the princess of Sarasaland. And it's so rare to see Nintendo acknowledge Sarasaland in an official capacity because, again, it was this one game on the Game Boy back in like 1989, I think is when it came out. So yeah, you don't really see that referenced too often. But yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, just even the fact that they did make it a point of like, hey, let's make Daisy a playable character in this game. Obviously, by the time Mario Wonder came out, that was the same year, I believe, as the first Mario movie. So I'm sure they were already, in talks about, what they were going to do for the sequel. So maybe that's part of why we saw her in Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Maybe they are setting up for her to be in this movie. I could see that being a thing of like, Bowser and Bowser Jr., they're planning on, taking over the whole universe if we don't stop them. And kind of like how, Peach and Co. went to the Kongs to get help from Cranky Kong in the first movie. In this movie, maybe she's like, okay, we need all the help we can get. Mario, I need you to go to the kingdom of Sarasaland. There's a princess there named Daisy, and, go get her and see if she can recruit her Toast Arena citizens to help us. I could see that being a plot point. That would also introduce a love interest for Luigi, because he didn't have one in the first movie, but they obviously, kind of dropped little hints about Mario and Peach's, romantic undertones there, the sexual tension in the room between the two of them. So I don't know how much more of that we're going to see in this second movie. But yeah, so I could potentially see Daisy showing up. I think we're going to probably get a lot of backstory for Rosalina. So if you've played Mario Galaxy, you know that there's Rosalina's storybook, which gives this backstory of her as a child, and it's pretty sad. It talks about her like losing her mom and being like buried like under the under the tree in like the backyard or whatever. So just really kind of heavy stuff about this little girl dealing with grief and loss, and it really resonated with a lot of people. And yeah, with the re-release of Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 on the Switch, which just happened earlier this year, like a month or so ago, they made a point of emphasizing, like, hey, we added a brand new chapter to the storybook. And I have to imagine that, and also the fact they added a brand new storybook for Super Mario Galaxy 2, that's going to come into play in some way in this movie. So for Galaxy 2, there's this character, Lubba, and she has a backstory now that wasn't there in the first game, but they've got some added context here for her, where she was one of two twins named Mari and Lou, who were separated, and Lou is grieving the loss of her twin. So obviously Mario and Luigi. In the first movie, placed a big emphasis on brotherly love and just their companionship. We can do anything as long as we're together. I thought that was a great aspect of the first movie, where they put such an emphasis on Mario and Luigi's brotherly love between the two of them. So I would say that would probably carry over to this movie, and they might draw some parallels where maybe, I don't know, we'll see if they do the cliche thing of Mario and Luigi having some kind of dispute at one point, and maybe they have a bit of a falling out or something, but then maybe Lubba, who we've not seen, but I could see her being a character in this as well, probably, in all likelihood. And maybe she talks to Mario about her backstory, and like, hey, I used to have a twin just like you, and I've, been on this long quest to find her. Don't take for granted what you have now, because one day it may be all gone. Then that might get Mario to self-reflect or something, and him and Luigi kiss and make up. I don't know, but yeah, I think that story is probably going to be in there, but I think definitely Rosalina's backstory is going to be there. I know some people thought that, like, Pikmin Close to You trailer was like a tease for the Mario Galaxy movie, and obviously it wasn't. It was a Pikmin short film. But I do still think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see Rosalina talking about her mom. And they could really play it. They could make it a very sad, very emotional scene if they want to. Ultimately, we'll just have to wait and see what they do. But this could be a big opportunity in the same way that the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie, which came out at the beginning of this year, people were saying, like, oh, they're with Shadow, they're probably not going to go there. They're not going to go into the sad backstory with Maria where she dies and stuff. That was in the Shadow the Hedgehog game from like 2006 or whenever that came out. 2005, whatever it was. But they went there. It was pretty heavy. And yeah, I would love to see them do the same for the Mario movie as well. Because hopefully, they can learn from that, which obviously this movie's been in development for a while, so I don't know if they would change course on production very much, on account of the Sonic 3 movie, because that'd be pretty late in production. They probably had the script finished for a long time now. But I think it does show, and I hope that, if not the Mario Galaxy 2 movie, that other Nintendo movies in the future, and just other kids' family animated movies in general, that these executives and stuff will realize and understand that, like, yeah, children can handle a heavy story that involves death and grief and themes like that. That they don't have to necessarily shy away from them. It's why so many people, I think, consider The Lion King to be one of the best Disney movies, because it's not afraid to go there. But yeah, so I hope that we get to see a lot of good, deep backstory, tragic backstory with Rosalina that really builds, on her character. And I wonder whether they, because I feel like this has to be at least one scene in the movie, but it could be a very big focal point, where maybe after Princess Peach meets Rosalina, that she has this sense of belonging. Because in the first movie, Peach's backstory is kind of vague. It's kind of like, I don't really know where I came from. I came through a warp pipe as a baby, and the Toads took me in as one of their own, and I inexplicably became their princess, I guess because I'm the only female in this world. um, and yeah, and then she says, Mario says, maybe you're from my world. And then she says, well, there's a lot of worlds out there and a lot of galaxies. So that kind of suggests maybe Princess Peach has interstellar origins. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, obviously Rosalina looks very similar to Princess Peach. They're very, very similar looking characters, similar facial features, um, same wardrobe, pretty much, except hers is like teal. So yeah, I could see there being kind of a thing there of like Rosalina's kind of, or Princess Peach is kind of like, hey, you look a lot like me. Maybe we're related in some way. And so I don't know how exactly that's gonna go, but that could be very interesting. Maybe I don't know. They're probably not gonna go there, but maybe it's like Rosalina. Maybe like Peach and Rosalina have the same mom or something that died. But where Peach was the younger sister, she had no memory of it. It's like, oh, Rosalina's my long lost sister. They're probably not going to go there. That'd be kind of wild. But maybe some kind of familial relations, even if not like sisters, like something like, oh, well, you're my distant cousin. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think that Donkey Kong is going to be in this movie like he was in the first movie. So, in the Nintendo Direct that we had back in September, they kind of opened it with like a Super Mario 40th anniversary celebration. And I was actually just recently looking back at that Nintendo Direct where they showed the teaser trailer where we got the official confirmation that it was going to be called the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And then they come out and say, Chris Pratt and, all these other people are going to be reprising their voice roles as, Peach and, Jack Black's still going to be Bowser and Keegan-Michael Key's Toad and all that. And I think they named Kamek as well. Very excited that Kamek's going to be back. He was like my favorite character from the first movie. The person that they got to do his voice, I don't know his name offhand. I know he's a black actor, but he like knocked it out of the park. Actually, Toad also has a really, really good voice. Keegan-Michael Key. The black actors in this movie are like the best. Like they're carrying it. Although I think Luigi's is really good too. What's his name that does Luigi's voice? He's from that meme, right, with like the bulletin board. That's, got that intense. He got the connecting the dots or whatever. Whatever that guy's name is. He did really great as Luigi, and then of course Bowser. Chris Pratt, kind of, whatever. But anyway, I'm getting very off topic here. But yeah, I do hope that we see more. I'm excited to see what role Kamek plays in this. He could actually have an even bigger role than in the first movie. Because if you've played the Yoshi Island games, that Kamek is kind of the, he was like the caretaker of Baby Bowser. So I imagine he'll play a very similar role here with Bowser Jr., where, whenever Bowser's absent, that, Kamek is kind of Bowser Jr.'s babysitter, essentially. And I could see it where, maybe, actually, probably, I was talking earlier, but now that I think about it, that's probably how he gets that paintbrush, or at the very least, maybe it's a normal paintbrush, but that's how it gets infused with this magic power that can transform Bowser Jr. into this, like, dark form. It could be Kamek doing it, because Kamek never got kidnapped by Bowser, I don't think, at the end of the first movie. But yeah, I could see that having a lot of good comedy potential, a lot of humor of just, Kamek babying Bowser Jr. a little too much and him getting, like, annoyed with that. So yeah, I think that could be a pretty big component. So I'm excited to see Kamek's role in this movie. But in that Nintendo Direct this past September, when they were going over like all the returning voice cast, I never really picked up on this before, but they did not mention that Seth Rogen would be reprising his role as Donkey Kong. So I don't think Donkey Kong's going to be in this movie. I kind of don't want him to be, because I mean, Donkey Kong's not in Super Mario Galaxy. It would just be kind of little weird. Like I think they might like reference Donkey Kong, like oh he's off dealing with this thing, about the you know the Kong's banana horde got stolen or something, and kind of like set up a Donkey Kong Country movie in the future because I think that's got to be coming. We got the Donkey Kong Park and everything. Nintendo's wanting to bring Donkey Kong back in a really big, meaningful way. But I don't think he needs to be in this movie. Um, Maybe like one small scene of him being like, "All right, bye guys," But I don't want him to be part of the main plot. But his own movie, absolutely, especially if they can bring in, King K. Rool as the main villain, would be so good to see them face off together on screen. I don't know who they'd get to voice K. Rool. I loved his voice in the Donkey Kong Country cartoon from back in the day, like the late '90s, early 2000s, whenever that poorly animated CG cartoon was from. There's some episodes of that I think are genuinely very funny. I grew up with a VHS tape that had some on it. It was called like Donkey Kong Country, Legend of the Crystal Coconut. Every song's got like musical numbers too. Some of the musical numbers are actually shockingly like really good too. Um, but yeah, I would love if the person who played K. Rool's voice in that reprises his role. I don't know the name of that actor, but he sort of talks with this sort of regal British sort of voice, but he kind of enunciates things weird and, just very kind of chaotic the way K. Rool is. And I just think that would be a really good voice. But, we'll see who they go with, if they even end up making a Donkey Kong movie. But yeah, the fact that they didn't mention Seth Rogen was going to be back, I don't think he's going to be in this movie. I think he will get his own dedicated movie. Maybe that's going to be the post credit sequence at the end of this movie is like a little tease about what Donkey Kong's up to. But yeah, I don't know. I think Nintendo already. In their most recent like quarterly financial reporting, like they had this infographic where they were showing, they had the first Mario movie in 2023, and then this one coming 2026, and then they've got like then the Zelda movie coming 2027, and then they've got like 2 question marks for movies coming in the future, and then like an ellipse, a dot 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 for even more. Saying like, yeah, we're in it for the long haul. Essentially, we are not slowing down on these movies anytime soon, which I think is awesome. So we'll just have to wait and see what that entails. But like, I think whatever the next Mario movie is, actually starring Mario, I don't know that like a Luigi's Mansion spinoff or a Donkey Kong spinoff would necessarily have to get in the way of that. It looks like they're kind of greenlighting multiple movies at the same time, which I think is really good to see. So we might have like, maybe it'll be another 3 years, if they continue this pattern between the Galaxy movie and, I don't know, Mario Sunshine or whatever comes next. But maybe, after the Zelda movie in 2027, maybe in 2028, that's when we get the Donkey Kong movie or the Luigi's Mansion movie to carry us into 2029 when we get the third Mario movie. I don't know if they're going to be able to crank out a new movie like annually or anything, but, again, we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's pretty exciting. Especially to know that, like, if we do get a Luigi's Mansion movie or a Donkey Kong movie, that's probably not going to slow down production on whatever other Mario movies or Zelda movies they're working on, that they're able to juggle multiple projects in tandem, it seems, is what they're trying to, or what they're wanting to do here anyway. So yeah, really exciting stuff. But anyway, what else do we want to talk about next? So we talk about Bowser Jr. He's got his magic paintbrush. The form he transforms into, though, interestingly, is from Super Mario Brothers Wonder, where he turns all like purple, and his like mask actually has like teeth on it now. Yeah, that's a transformation, and then I think his hair is like a glowing like green flame. Maybe that's the exact transformation he gets during the boss fights in Super Mario Brothers Wonder. So yeah, obviously this game's gonna have Mario Wonder references in there again. Just because it's called Galaxy, that doesn't mean they're not going to reference other games in this. We see Ninjas in it, which is an enemy that didn't appear in Mario Galaxy, that debuted in like Super Mario Brothers 2. So it's not going to stick like perfectly to just Mario Galaxy references, which is probably a good thing. I'm sure there will still be plenty of Galaxy references though, but I do think that's very interesting though, because like movies are in production for like years, And Super Mario Brothers Wonder is not that old of a game, so I think it's neat. I think it's really cool though that they're putting like the most recent mainline Mario really is being represented in this new movie, the same way that Bowser's Fury was like not old at all when the first Mario movie came out. And it's got that song in it that that actually plays when Bowser's having like a party or something in the first movie. Despite the fact that the movie came out in 2023 and Bowser's Fury had only just come out in like 2021, so like very recent, very new. It seems like they're really being flexible with these movies to like, hey, we got this game we're working on that's going to be coming out or that just came out. Let's try to work that into this movie a little bit. It's clever product placement, you know. But I feel like a lot of movies wouldn't take the time to do that. It's like, oh, we've been working on this movie for years. We had this concrete plan from the get-go. We're not going to be super flexible with it, and we're not going to be adding a bunch of last-minute changes, or we're not going to necessarily be able to reference the newest, you know, biggest thing that just came out. But yeah. So I thought that was really interesting in terms of the Mario Galaxy references. It was so funny because I didn't do a reaction. I probably should have recorded a reaction to this movie trailer. But one thing I would have said at the start of it was it would have been how, like, if I gave like kind of my hopes or predictions before the trailer, I would have talked about, because this was something I was thinking a lot about the last couple of days before the movie trailer, of just like what references and what enemies and bosses they could bring in from Galaxy. I was like, I hope the Mega Leg is in there. Mega Leg is like the first main boss from the first Galaxy game, which I thought was just so cool as a kid. It just like blew my mind. It's just this giant, colossal robot that you're like scaling up like its leg, and it's just massive. And to me, that was just mind-blowing as a kid, just seeing this 3D model that was like larger than anything I'd ever seen, you know, up to that point as a kid. Yeah, it was in the trailer. We saw Mega Leg. Of course, Rosalina blew it up pretty quickly, but still, it was there. It didn't look as large scale as it was in the game, though. It looked quite a bit smaller compared to how it was in the game, which is maybe mildly disappointing. But it's cool that it showed up there. So it's got me thinking a lot about like what other enemies are we going to see in this. I wrote down some like key ones, like some bosses from the Galaxy games, particularly Super Mario Galaxy 1. I literally just played Mario Galaxy 2 on my YouTube channel. We did a playthrough of it. Go check that out if you're interested. But despite just playing it, I can think of very few bosses, and I don't even know their names. There's that big pink one with the chubby face, and you gotta like ground pound on like the grates in the floor and like hit her in the belly. And then there's the one that's like this sand monster, and you gotta throw fireballs into its mouth. It's in like a pit of quicksand. Other than that, I can't really think of any boss fights really off the top of my head that much. Well, there's the Mega Hammer that Bowser Jr. pilots. I could see him having that mech maybe like after the first one, after Mega Leg gets destroyed, and then maybe he builds, or you know, Bowser's minions build for him the Mega Hammer, and then he's piloting that one. I could see that being a thing. But other than that, I can't think of any like real standout bosses from Galaxy 2 off the top of my head anyway. But in Galaxy 1 though, you've got the Dino Piranha. I think that can make a really cool scene in this movie. I could see it being a thing, because obviously they're going to get Yoshi, right, who hatches from the egg. They see this big giant egg, and Mario's like, look, Yoshi, it's a... You know, maybe that's your brother. There's a big egg. And, you know, Luigi's like, Mario, don't mess with that egg. And Mario's like, you know, what's going to happen, Luigi? And then it cracks open, and then the Dino Piranha comes out and, like, eats Mario or something. And then they got to, Luigi and Yoshi got to beat up the Dino Piranha and get it to throw up Mario or something. I could see that being a scene in the movie. Also, Bouldergeist is a really cool boss from the first Galaxy game. He shows up in kind of a spooky, kind of mansion-y sort of world. I don't know if they're going to have anything like that in this movie, especially if they are going to do their own Luigi's Mansion movie later on, and especially considering the first movie already had kind of a spooky scene with Luigi where he's kind of in the Dark Lands or whatever. He lands in Bowser's Kingdom, and like he's being chased by these dry bones and stuff, and gets captured by Sniffits, and it's kind of this real creepy scene. So maybe maybe that's a little bit much. Maybe they don't have to have like a spooky, uh, horror themed area in like every movie. So maybe we won't see that in this movie. Um, there's Bonefin, who kind of in line with Bouldergeist. He's kind of more of a creepy, spooky enemy, but just this giant skeleton fish with shark-like teeth. One of my favorite bosses from Mario Galaxy. That would be really cool to see it show up. You've got there's this big alien octopus creature called King Caliente. Maybe we'll see him in here. He's basically like one of the bloopers from Mario, but he spits fire. Um, Camilla. That's another boss from Super Mario Galaxy that's really cool. She's like a Magi Koopa, so like Kamek, but she's female and she's got purple robes and lipstick and long nails and stuff. And she's another one of my favorite bosses from that game. And that could be cool. That could have like a funny thing if like maybe Kamek's got like a crush on Camilla or something. Like I don't know. I could see that maybe being a thing. Or maybe Camilla's like Kamek's mom or sister or something. I don't know, but I could see Camilla being in this, and I could see her having funny interactions with Kamek, whatever role she ends up be like, whatever their relationship ends up being, if they're family or if they're like a love interest. I don't know. But yeah, so we got that. We got. I was trying to think too, just like as far as the power ups that appear in Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, and which ones could show up in this movie. So Yoshi can like eat different fruits that causes different things to happen. There's like this bulb berry, I think it's called, that Yoshi eats, and it kind of just lets him. He becomes bioluminescent, and he can light up the dark. I could see that being a thing in the movie. Or there's the blimp berry, I think maybe it's called. It's like this blue fruit Yoshi can eat, and then he swells up like a balloon, and you can float. And then there's like this dash pepper. I don't know what it's called. Maybe it is just called dash pepper that lets Yoshi temporarily run really fast because it's super hot. So I could see Yoshi having those powers in the movie. Additionally, Mario had he can transform into Cloud Mario in Galaxy 2. And also there's the Rock Mario power up, but I don't really that power up really doesn't get used a whole lot in Galaxy 2, and I don't really know how they would incorporate that into the movie necessarily, so I don't know if I see that one being in there. The Cloud Mushroom, I could see that power up being in there, or the Cloud Flower, or whatever it is. I think we'll definitely see Bee Mario. Just seems very likely. We might even have a whole scene with like the queen bee, and they've got to like do something to help out the honey hive galaxy or whatever. Bee Mario, I feel like that's the most probably well-known power-up from the Mario Galaxy games, as far as I can think of anyway. You can also transform into a Boo, so maybe that would be a thing. I don't know. Again, I don't know how much they want to go into like spooky territory with this movie, because we had a scene like that in the first one, and if they have their own Luigi's Mansion movie, they might not want to, overdo the spookiness. Then of course Mario, he's got the like drill ability that he can get in Galaxy 2, where he can just like burrow straight through one end of a planet to the other. I guess that could look pretty cool in a movie. Then you've got the Ice Flower. I think Mario Galaxy might have been the first game to have the Ice Flower, as far as I can think of. Technically, it was in the first movie. Princess Peach uses it at the wedding. Mario doesn't, though, so I could see Mario getting the Ice Flower in the second movie. In the first movie, Mario uses, of course, the regular Super Mushroom. Him and Luigi get the star at the end. And then Mario gets there's the Fire Flower. I don't know if Mario actually used the Fire Flower. Donkey Kong gets it, which is interesting. Donkey Kong can power up, even though we've never seen that in any of the games. And then Mario has the Tanuki suit, which of course comes from Super Mario Bros. 3, and then also the cat suit from Mario 3D World. So the first Mario movie wasn't afraid to have like different power-ups from different Mario games. So again, even though this is the Galaxy movie, I don't know that all the power ups necessarily have to come from Galaxy. I could see them incorporating other power ups from different Mario games. For example, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, since that game, is already referenced in this movie in a pretty big way, despite being pretty recent. Mario's got like the bubble flower in that game that could show up. Also, the drill, which is kind of functionally pretty similar to the one from Super Mario Galaxy 2, so they might opt for that instead. Um, oh yeah, there's the elephant power up. I guess they could some way work that in. I don't know what role that would take, but that would be pretty interesting, I guess, to see Mario turn into a big fat elephant. Um, but yeah, somebody pointed out I completely missed this, but in the scene where Peach is fighting like the ninjas. I didn't notice this. I've not like gone through like frame by frame analyzing the movie footage or anything. But people who have, one person pointed out that apparently that's the same casino from Super Mario Sunshine, like in the hotel in like Serena Beach. So that's really cool. Again, getting more Mario Sunshine references in there, possibly setting up for a Mario Sunshine movie. Because like the first Mario movie does like I don't think any of us expected Galaxy to be the second movie. It was always kind of like that was kind of the dream of like we'll build up to a Galaxy movie someday, but like well that'll be the third in the trilogy or maybe even the fourth movie or something. But looking back though, there were a lot of references to Galaxy specifically. Again, that scene with Princess Peach talking about how there's a lot of galaxies out there. The fact that we saw one of the Lumas from Super Mario Galaxy in there in the cage that's making all those like weird nihilistic comments about death. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see with this movie. Are they going to foreshadow Mario Sunshine? We've already got the paintbrush and apparently that casino from the hotel. Are we going to have a Pianta show up? And then maybe at the end of the movie, they'll be like, Mario will be like, boy, I could sure use a vacation. What do you say, princess? And then Mario and Peach and Yoshi, the three of them have a vacation together. And that sets up the premise for the Super Mario Sunshine movie. And then meanwhile, Luigi, maybe he gets that letter and finds out about the mansion. And so maybe Mario and Luigi have their own separate adventures. But I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, in all three of Luigi's Mansion games, if they do make a Luigi's Mansion movie, he's always saving Mario. That's always like the motivation is like King Boo has kidnapped Mario. But I don't know. That would just kind of be the reverse of what they already did with the first movie, which is Mario trying to save Luigi. So seeing Luigi try to save Mario, I don't know how compelling that would be. Because we already saw the inverse of that. It might just kind of feel like retreading old ground. So I wouldn't mind if Mario's just not in the Luigi movie, if he's just kind of got his own completely separate thing going on. And maybe he goes there to the mansion and maybe he just gets locked in by King Boo and the whole thing is just him trying to get out of the mansion. He's not trying to save anybody. He's just trying to save himself, And then of course meets Egad and all that. But I think that would be really cool if they just split off into their own separate adventures because Luigi, he was never in Sunshine, but Peach and Mario and Yoshi all were, and that could be a good justification for him to not be in the movie because not only does it line up with the games, but also like, well, Luigi's doing his own thing, so he couldn't be here because he found out about this mansion that he supposedly won. So yeah, but ultimately we'll just have to see how. That's obviously getting very far ahead. um, but yeah, and I guess it kind of confirms. I was thinking this was like concept art from the first Mario movie, but I don't think it was actually concept art. I think it was actually leaked concept art for the second movie. I remember there was like some images going around that had come out that it seemed like Mario and Luigi were like in the desert and they were it was like they were at like a bazaar or something talking to like various creatures. Like maybe there was like some kind of like black market thing going on. It looked like they were maybe talking to some sketchy merchants or something in the desert. It looks like that is probably going to be a pretty big plot point in the second movie because again we see them riding on their motorcycles through the desert. They've got some kind of like turban or something on their heads. some kind of cloth, like I guess to keep the sun from beaming down on them, or to keep the sand from kicking up in their eyes, maybe where they're on the motorcycles kicking up dust everywhere. Um, it's not really anything from the games as far as I can think of. I don't think there's any instance where they wear a head garb like that, but I guess not everything has to come directly from the games. So that's interesting. I love the scene. This is kind of like getting off topic here, but I'm just thinking I love the scene where Peach and Toad jump into the launch star and they shoot off, and you see them go through like one of the planets, which is just like a floating sphere of water, just suspended in midair, in the just like out in space, and there's like sea creatures floating around in it. There's bloopers and cheeps. That looked really cool, and it definitely looked like something straight out of the Mario Galaxy games. So that was really cool to see. But speaking of Toad, I think in this movie, this is a prediction of mine. I think that we are going to see, the red-headed Toad, the one that accompanied Mario. I say red-headed, you know what I mean? The one with the white mushroom with red spots. The one that we think of when we think of Toad. Toad the character versus Toad the race, I guess. Who accompanies Mario and Peach on the adventure from the first movie. I think we're going to see him become Captain Toad in this movie. Captain Toad made his debut in Super Mario Galaxy, and he's went on to reappear in several games since then. He's going to be in the Super Mario Brothers Wonder Switch 2 edition coming out. He's going to have some kind of role. We're going to have, he had his own game. He also had some levels in Super Mario 3D World. So Captain Toad's become a pretty prominent character. And even in the first movie, there's this scene. I don't remember if it's when like Captain Toad is like cooking something at a little campfire, but it plays the little tune, the da 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 da, which is Captain Toad's theme. So yeah, I think that regular Toad in this movie is going to get together with some other Toads of different colors, and they're going to form the Toad Brigade, and they'll have the flying mushroom ship like was in the Galaxy games. And I don't know exactly how that's going to happen, but yeah, he'll get his like headlamp that he's got, and he'll have the backpack and all that stuff. That'll be interesting to see how that happens. But I feel 100% certain. I don't know if maybe Toad will get separated from Peach and everybody, and he has his own separate little subplot. But I could see him having like a B plot where it's like he's putting together this brigade of Toads, and maybe they come in, in the climax of the movie, you kind of like forget about them because they've been off screen for a while, and then Mario and Luigi are about to get killed by Bowser, and it's like, how are they going to get out of this situation? And then da 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 da, here comes the Toad Brigade to save the day. I could see something like that happening. Because somebody did point out, and I'd been thinking this before we even got like the little promotional poster, like the day or two before the Mario Galaxy movie direct, that showed them all on the out on the water, like on the pond or something in front of Peach's castle during the Shooting Star Festival, which is probably how the movie's going to open, because if you've played the Galaxy games, you know that it starts off with a Shooting Star Festival, and there's like this comet that only comes around once every like 1,000 years or something like that, which I believe is like the comet that like Rosalina is on, like her observatory is a part of that comet. And you see a bunch of Toads out in a boat, and they're different colors. There's like a yellow one, I think, and a green one, and a blue one, and it's all the same colors, somebody pointed out, of the Toad Brigade that's on that poster. So yeah, I think Toad is going to join together with this band of other Toads, and they're going to form this treasure hunting squadron that flies around the galaxy. So that'll be cool to see. If you notice, there's also a Chef Toad there, which isn't in any of the games, interestingly, but actually is from the Universal theme park. So it's kind of interesting that this quote-unquote non-canon Mario character is now making his way into the movies. Are we going to see Chef Toad in one of the games? I don't know. Or does Nintendo have like a weird joint copyright thing with Universal? Maybe they don't have the rights to put Chef Toad in their game. I don't know. be like a weird thing like Geno or something, you know. Um, but yeah, so we got that, and then there's another Toad that you see. It looks to be maybe like a younger, like a kid Toad, and he's decked out in like Mario merch, and he's like, I think he's got like a little Mario plush doll or something, and he's got like Mario pajamas on. So I guess after the events of the first movie, Mario and Luigi have like they've got like a super fan, you know. So that could be cute, I guess. I don't have a whole lot to say about that. Um, I don't want it to be too like self-aware though. Like I hate when Disney does stuff like where it feels like shameless marketing. I don't want to see like all these totes have Mario merch. And like you can buy the same Mario merch by going to our website or exclusively available at the Universal theme park. I hope it doesn't get like that, you know, like really corporate. But we'll see exactly what they do with that character. Um, but going back real quick to the fact that that scene of Mario and Luigi, I think it was Mario and Luigi, maybe it was Mario and Peach, whoever it was that was going through the desert, how that looks to be taken from concept art. It's got me thinking back to other concept art, like from the first movie, and thinking like, well, are they going to reuse any of those ideas for the sequel or for future movies? Because one piece of concept art was really interesting where it shows Bowser crying and a bunch of other people laughing at him when he got rejected by Princess Peach at like the high school prom or something, which is really, that'd be really weird. I don't know if that would be like a scene, like a flashback scene in this movie or anything. But that would be kind of cool to see because it shows some interesting kind of obscure Mario characters there. And Chris Meledandri, I think, is the name of the Illumination exec who was in the Nintendo Direct, talked about how this movie was going to have, you know, familiar faces, but also some deep cuts for longtime fans in there to look out for as far as characters go. But one of those that was in that concept art was Mauser from Super Mario Brothers 2. So that would be really, really cool to see Mauser show up, or like Wart from that game. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess, because he was just like, I guess, one of Peach and Bowser's like high school classmates. I don't remember who else they showed in that concept art, but yeah, so that was interesting. So we'll see if that has any role in the movie or not. I'm not really going to make a lot of guesses as far as like other deep cut characters because I really have no idea who they're going to pull from. I think I could see Nabbit being in there because Nabbit's in like all kinds of Mario games for whatever reason. He first showed up in New Super Mario Brothers U, but he's been in like a ton of the sports games. He's been in Mario Golf. He's in the newest Mario Kart. He was in Mario Kart Tour on mobile. He's just been kind of all over the place. So yeah, Nabbit, I could see him cameoing in the movie. I don't think we're gonna get the Koopalings. Honestly, I don't really want the Koopalings since we got Bowser Jr. I love the Koopalings. I'd really love to see them all in there. But I think they don't need to be introduced in the same movie as Bowser Jr. I think give it some time to breathe and let them come in later on, you know, like to where, like in another movie where Bowser Jr. doesn't play so much of a pivotal role, they can kind of take up the reins a little bit. Um, but yeah, I'm looking down at my notes to see what else we've not hit on. The music I've got wrote down will be phenomenal. Super Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2 have one of the best orchestral soundtracks of all time of any game I've ever played. And you know, with the movie, of course, all the music I'm sure will be orchestrated. It's going to be composed. I'm sure we're going to get so many wonderful renditions of a lot of the amazing music from Mario Galaxy, and that really, really excites me. And when I really got to thinking about that, it's like, okay, yeah, I understand why Nintendo wanted to make this their next Mario movie, because there's so much cinematic about that game, mostly the music, but also just like the dynamic camera angles whenever Mario launches off a launch star and the way the camera pans. It just really masterfully done. That game is such a visual and auditory masterpiece. So I'm really excited to hear some new redone music. I hope there won't be as much of an emphasis on getting like not public domain, but like you know, getting popular songs in there. The first movie had a lot. which a lot of it was like 80s music. You know, you had like Take On Me playing in there, and then you had, I'm trying to think what other songs play in the movie. What was that one? I Saw the Sun or whatever it's called. Maybe that's not what whatever that da 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 whatever that is. Um, that plays like at the end of the movie. There was a lot of 80s music in there, which kind of is fitting, I guess. It makes sense. You had I Need a Hero was another one. Um, but it makes sense because Mario, first came out in the 80s. But I don't know. I hope we don't see a lot of that with this movie. I'm trying to think, like, what's like a song that's evocative of like space or like interstellar, intergalactic, something that they would pull from if they do go the route of getting like a pop artist, a famous pop song to play in the movie. But I really hope that's just not there at all. But who knows? I'm sure they'll probably find a way to work in some of it. But who knows? Maybe with the first movie grossing well over, $1 billion, maybe Nintendo just like, hey, see, Universal, we don't need to have licensed, or I keep saying it is licensed music. We don't need to have licensed music in there to reach audiences. The product speaks for itself. So we'll see about that. But either way, I'm sure the soundtrack is going to be stellar. Otherwise, let's see, anything else that I want to talk about here? I'm looking at everything that I have written down. Yeah, I think I've touched on pretty much everything that I have written down in my notes here. One last thing we can briefly touch on. We already kind of talked about how Nintendo is already laying out plans for a consistent stream of future movies beyond this one and beyond the Zelda movie. Hopefully those won't all just be like Mario spin-offs and more Zelda movies, although that would be great. I'd love to see other Nintendo franchises in there as well. We'll see exactly how far-reaching that's going to get. I think it could be a really excellent opportunity to revitalize the Star Fox franchise. I'm not really that into the Star Fox games, at least of the ones I've played. I'm not really into like arcade style on rails auto shooters where you're chasing high scores. I could do a whole video talking about what I would like to see with like a modernized Star Fox game. I think they really need to just rethink the formula because I don't think that really works anymore in the year 2025, or at least if you do make a game in that style, you can't sell it for $70. There's just not enough content there. Star Fox Zero was a $60 game, and you could beat it in like a couple hours. And it's like, the replay value. You go back and you play the levels again and again and again. But what if I don't want to replay the same levels again and again? But yeah, I think even though I've never really connected to the Star Fox IP, just because like the gameplay doesn't really resonate with me, at least in like Star Fox 64 and stuff like that. I never played Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube. I've heard that one's apparently like a Zelda clone with like a lot of on foot missions and like dungeons and stuff. I honestly think I could really like that one potentially. So I'm hoping Nintendo will bring that one to the GameCube NSO app sooner rather than later. I'd love a chance to actually finally play that. Even if it probably has problems, because I understand, it started development as like Dinosaur Planet, and then Nintendo made Rare like retool it into a Star Fox game. But anyway, so even though I never really connected with the games, I feel like Fox, McCloud, and Wolf and Falco and like Pigma. What's that one? Like the Puma or whatever his name is. Like all these characters, Andros. Like I know of kind of. You got Slippy and Peppy, but I don't have like a strong connection. But they seem like really solid characters. Like I think they would really make a compelling movie. I feel like I would care honestly a lot more about an animated Star Fox movie than the video games. Like I think the movie could perform really, really well. I think even if you've never played a Star Fox game, I think a lot of kids, might see the commercials for like advertise it. Like I just think that's a really unique novel thing. I can't think of many other examples of, like, you've got talking anthropomorphic animals in space. They're not aliens, they're just animals in space, and I think that's pretty cool. And they pilot ships and they shoot each other down, and there's this whole intergalactic thing, the conquest going on, and the Lilat system. I think that could make a really great movie. I feel like it could be a little similar, which I never watched this movie. I heard it didn't have the best reception, but, like, I don't know. It makes me think of, like, the Ratchet and Clank movie, um, which you can correct me if I'm wrong. Even though that movie didn't get very good, like, reception, I think it did pretty well at the box office, right? Or am I making that up? I don't know. But yeah, a Star Fox movie, I think that could be great. I think it would really resonate with a lot of kids who would want to go out and see it, even if they never played the games. Because, like, they don't have to market it as, like, you played the game, now get ready for the movie. I think it could just be a really solid movie on its own right. So that's maybe, after Mario and Zelda, that might be the next franchise that I would really personally want to see as a movie. And of course, you got Kirby, you got Splatoon. Some of those I think might lend themselves better as, like, animated series. I don't know if Nintendo has any plans on that. I really hope they do, though. Kirby had an animated series back in the day, back in, like, the early 2000s. Kirby Right Back at You. I never really watched it. I saw maybe, like, one or two episodes, maybe some clips here and there, but it's kind of hard to find. It's not really accessible on any of the, like, streaming services or anything. Um, but but yeah, having just recently played Chibi Robo for the first time on Switch Online on the GameCube thing, that game's got great potential for a movie. Like, holy yeah, that would be an amazing movie. They probably won't do it, considering that game wasn't, very successful. And unlike Star Fox, I don't know that it would be as easy to market that movie to kids. I don't know if it has the same inherent appeal as Animals in Space. This tiny little robot that cleans around the house. But the story is great, dealing with some heavy themes about divorce and childhood trauma and, like, dissociation and stuff. So I'd love to see a Chibi Robo movie, but I don't think it's going to happen. But Animal Crossing, I know, like, and I think the early 2000s, it got, like, an anime movie in Japan that never came to the States. They could finally localize that, for one thing. I think you can find it online with, like, subtitles and stuff. But they could, Animal Crossing, obviously New Horizons sold crazy, so I could see them greenlighting an Animal Crossing movie. I could see it being kind of similar to, because I feel like the Animal Crossing gameplay is very similar to kind of the plots of, or maybe not plot, but the pacing of Ghibli movies. It's kind of slower pace. It's very, like, slice of life, where you might spend, like, 5 minutes just showing this scene of somebody's cooking eggs and bacon. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if they could get Miyazaki to do it, but maybe Nintendo reaches out and they make like, actually get Ghibli to make an Animal Crossing movie. Some people said they wanted to see them make a Ghibli Zelda movie, and maybe they would be willing. I don't know, but I feel like Animal Crossing maybe would be more likely. I feel like, just in terms of the overall tone and stuff of those games, it feels a lot more in line with something that Miyazaki would make. Oh yeah, I've got wrote down here Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus Uprising has, like, one of my favorite plots from, like, any yeah, they could, like, bring back all the same voice cast if they did, like, an animated Kid Icarus movie, or they could do live action, would be cool too, which is based on, like, a lot of Greek mythology and stuff. You've got your various gods and goddesses in there. You got Poseidon, you got Hades. But yeah, Nintendo got, like, a very high pedigree of really talented voice actors to do that game. Pandora, that's another one in there. And yeah, a lot of these characters are, like, in a ton of different, like, cartoons and stuff that I watched growing up and stuff. So Yeah, it would be cool if they got the same voice cast for like a Kid Icarus movie. Again, it's another one where it's like, how much money making potential is there actually there? But like, I think it would be pretty sick. I would be there day one for a Kid Icarus movie. Are you kidding me? Then Pikmin. I don't know that we would get like a Pikmin movie or anything, mainly because Nintendo's already doing these like their own Pikmin shorts. So I don't I don't know unless Miyamoto's pushing for that. They bought out this company and rebranded them to Nintendo Pictures, and they're making these Pikmin shorts as like a proof of concept. Maybe Miyamoto made that to try to present it to Universal or some other studio to pitch it as like, hey, let's make a full movie out of this. Um, but I don't know. I don't know if I see that actually manifesting. A Pikmin like series on like Netflix or something might be more likely, if anything. But I feel like it may just remain in the realm of shorts because I feel like it's still too niche of a thing. But I don't know. What do I know? But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about concerning the Mario Galaxy movie and then Nintendo's other movie initiatives. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, our first podcast, and who knows how long. Hopefully, I can get to doing these a little bit more consistently because I know it's been a very long time since the last one. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. For more podcasts, hopefully coming every week now on the weekends. But in addition to that, we do Let's Plays here on the channel. We've been playing through, right now I'm doing Ukulele and the Impossible Lair. But, if you click this because you like Mario content, I just wrapped up both Luigi's Mansion, the GameCube original, and also Mario Galaxy 2 on the channel. So check those out if you feel so inclined. And we're also doing movie reactions now. I've got one up for K-pop Demon Hunters. And then I just recorded my second movie reaction, which may or may not be live on YouTube by the time this video goes up, which is for Neisha, if I'm saying that correctly. It's a Chinese animated movie, which was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Spoilers for my video reaction. Yeah, and then just whatever other content, sometimes we do live streams. I'll do reaction videos sometimes when there's like a Nintendo Direct and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're new here, please consider sticking around. And with that, I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.